The war had been raging for months, stretching across countless star systems, and yet Captain Adrian Voss remained steady. His ship, the Vanguard, glided silently through the blackness of space, its engines humming softly. Stars streaked past in long, thin lines, as if the universe itself were moving too fast for anyone to follow. Adrian leaned against the railing of the observation deck, staring at the distant planet below. Scifi, with its bright blue oceans and swirling green continents, looked peaceful from this distance, almost like a painting. It was hard to believe this was a place caught in the crossfire of interstellar battles. Adrian's mind wandered briefly to the reports he had received before the mission. Scifi was neutral, a planet that had long avoided taking sides in the conflicts between humans and alien coalitions. But neutrality could not protect them forever. Space pirates and mercenaries had started attacking settlements, taking resources and sometimes even people. Scifi's own forces were strong, but not strong enough to defend every village and city. That was why the United Earth Federation had sent Adrian and his squad. They were to protect Scifi, ensure the safety of its people, and prevent the conflict from spilling further. The landing was smooth. The Vanguard's engines hummed down as it settled in a valley surrounded by jagged mountains. A cold wind swept across the landing platform, carrying the scent of salt from the nearby ocean. Adrian's boots hit the metal floor with a soft thud as he led his team toward the city gates. His squad was small, 5 soldiers in total, but highly trained. Each of them knew the stakes. Each of them knew that failure was not an option. They moved in silence, scanning the surrounding landscape for signs of danger. As they reached the edge of the city, a sudden noise froze them in place. A low mechanical hum followed by a sharp metallic clank echoed from a nearby alley. Adrian signaled for his team to spread out. They moved carefully, each step measured, each breath controlled. It was then that he saw her. A young girl, barely older than 12, with wide, frightened eyes and long silver hair that shimmered in the sunlight. She was crouched behind a pile of crates, shaking, her small hands clutching a medallion that glowed faintly in the dim light. Adrian knelt slowly, keeping his voice soft. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The girl flinched, but didn't run. Her eyes were filled with fear, but also with something else, hope. That hope was fragile, like a candle flame in a storm, yet Adrian felt it reach out to him, demanding protection. He extended a hand. "Come with me. You're safe now." For a moment she hesitated, then slowly stepped forward, her small fingers brushing against his hand. The squad moved cautiously around them, scanning the alley for any hidden threats. There were none. The city was quiet, almost unnaturally so. Adrian knew that meant trouble could be lurking nearby, but he also knew he could not leave her behind, not now, not ever. As they made their way back to the Vanguard, the girl's gaze wandered to the sky. Her voice, barely a whisper, trembled as she spoke. "Mom, will she know I'm alive?" Adrian froze for a moment, recognizing the depth of loss in her words. Something about the way she said it made his chest tighten. He had seen fear and sorrow before, but never this combination of hope and despair. It was powerful. It was human. It was universal. Back aboard the ship, Adrian offered her a seat and a warm blanket. She hugged it tightly, as if it could shield her from the horrors she had faced. "My name is Lyra," she said softly. Adrian smiled, trying to bring comfort. "I'm Adrian, and we're going to make sure you get home safely." She looked up at him, eyes wide and uncertain. "Home? Do you mean my mother?" Adrian nodded. "Yes, your mother." He did not say how dangerous that journey could be, how many challenges awaited them in the path ahead. There was no need for fear just yet. For now, she needed reassurance. He would carry the burden of danger himself. The journey through Zephora's skies was quiet. Lyra gazed out of the viewport, mesmerized by the clouds that swirled like paint across the sky. Adrian watched her, noting the way her hands rested on the glass, tracing shapes in the mist. He wondered how long it had been since she had last felt safe, since she had last smiled without fear. The medallion around her neck pulsed gently, a faint glow that seemed to respond to her emotions. Adrian had never seen anything like it, though he sensed it was important. Whatever power it held, it had kept her alive all this time. During the flight, Adrian carefully asked her questions, speaking softly so she would feel comfortable. Lyra spoke slowly at first, her words cautious, then more freely as she realized the soldier meant no harm. She told him of her life before she was taken, of her mother's kindness, and of the strange, terrifying night when she was separated from her family. Adrian listened intently, his heart heavy with the weight of her story. The girl's resilience amazed him. Despite the pain she had endured, she had survived. Despite the darkness surrounding her, she had not lost hope. As they approached the outer edge of Zephora's territory, the first signs of danger appeared. Small, fast ships streaked across the sky, clearly following them. Adrian's training kicked in automatically. He gave precise, calm orders, maneuvering the vanguard through the asteroid fields and debris scattered throughout the orbit. The enemy ships were skilled, but Adrian was determined. He could not allow anything to happen to Lyra. She was the key to restoring hope, not just for her mother, but for an entire planet longing for peace. Hours passed, each moment tense and measured. Lyra clung to her blanket, glancing up at Adrian from time to time, her fear evident but mixed with awe. He smiled occasionally, offering small reassurances. "Almost there," he said. "We're close to your mother." Her eyes widened. "Do you think she'll remember me?" Adrian's heart ached at the innocence in her question. "Yes," he said firmly. "She'll remember. She'll know. You are her daughter, and nothing can change that." Lyra's hand tightened around his, seeking strength from the human soldier who had become her protector, her guardian, and her friend. By the time they reached the outskirts of the capital city, the sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple. Adrian guided the ship to a hidden landing zone, away from prying eyes. The city looked serene from above, but Adrian knew that beneath the surface, tension and worry ran deep. Queen Scifi, unaware that her daughter lived, continued her rule with grace and sorrow. Adrian took a deep breath. The moment of reunion would come soon, but first, he had to ensure they were safe, that Lyra could approach her mother without danger. Every decision he made mattered. Every step he took could change the fate of not just one family, but an entire world. That night, as Lyra finally slept, Adrian sat alone on the observation deck, staring at the stars. He thought about humanity and its place in the galaxy. They were young, perhaps reckless, but capable of courage and compassion beyond measure. He realized that moments like this, where bravery and kindness intersected, were what truly defined them. Saving Lyra was not just a mission. It was a reminder that humans could be more than soldiers. They could be heroes, allies, and symbols of hope in a universe often darkened by fear. Adrian knew the journey ahead would be difficult. He knew enemies would try to interfere, and that the reunion he had promised Lyra could be threatened. Yet, as he looked at the sleeping girl, a soft determination settled in his heart. He would not fail. He could not fail. For her mother, and for the ideals humanity represented, he would fight against every danger, overcome every obstacle, and bring Lyra safely home. The war might rage across the stars, but in that moment, aboard the quiet ship, hope burned brighter than any weapon. And so, under the glow of distant suns, The human soldier prepared for the trials ahead, unaware that the tears, the joy, and the bonds that awaited them would shape the destiny of two worlds. The journey from the hidden landing site to the capital city was longer than Adrian had expected. The terrain of Xiphora was beautiful but unpredictable. Towering mountains stretched into the clouds, rivers wound like silver threads through valleys, and forests were dense with tall trees that swayed in the wind. Adrian piloted the vanguard carefully, keeping an eye on the instruments, while Lyra sat beside him, staring wide-eyed at the passing landscape. She had never seen anything like it: vast open plains, mountains that seemed to touch the sky, and forests so dense that the sun barely touched the ground. "Do humans live like this?" she asked quietly, her voice full of wonder. Adrian glanced at her and smiled. "We have beautiful places too," he said. "But not all planets are like Xiphora. Your world is very special." Lyra nodded, hugging her blanket tightly. For a moment, the fear that had clung to her since childhood seemed to fade. She leaned back in her seat, trusting Adrian completely. The first challenge came sooner than they expected. As they approached a narrow canyon, alarms on the ship's console beeped urgently. Adrian frowned, scanning the display. A small fleet of unknown ships had appeared on their path, fast and agile. They were too small to be heavily armed, but their speed made them dangerous. Adrian's hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting the ship's trajectory. "Stay calm," he said to Lyra, though she could feel the tension in his voice. "It's just a small test. We'll pass it together." The ships swarmed around them, trying to force the vanguard into the canyon walls. Adrian's squad activated the ship's defensive shields, and he maneuvered expertly, banking sharply and dodging the attacks. The girl's eyes widened as she watched the ships streak past in brilliant flashes of light. For a few moments, it felt as if they were in the middle of a storm of fire and metal. But Adrian stayed calm, his mind focused entirely on keeping them safe. After several tense minutes, the last ship gave up the chase and retreated into the distance. "That was terrifying," Lyra whispered, gripping her seat tightly. Adrian placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did well," he said, "and now we know someone is watching. But we'll keep moving. No one will stop us from reaching your mother." Lyra's eyes glistened, a mixture of fear and admiration. She realized that this human, this soldier, would not abandon her. He had risked his own life to find her, and now he risked it again to take her home. As they left the canyon behind, the journey grew quieter. The danger had passed for now, and the galaxy seemed calm again. Lyra began to speak more freely, telling Adrian about her memories of her mother. She described the palace where she had grown up, the gardens filled with flowers of colors she could not name, and the gentle voice of Queen Scifi as she told stories of hope and courage. Adrian listened intently, picturing the queen's serene face and the bond between mother and daughter. He felt a deep sense of responsibility. This was not just about a mission anymore. It was about restoring a family and protecting hope in a world that had already suffered so much. At one point, they had to stop near a small village to refuel the ship. The villagers were wary at first, seeing a human and a silver-haired girl descend from the sky, but Adrian's calm demeanor and friendly words quickly won them over. They offered supplies and even shared stories of the queen's kindness, which made Lyra's eyes sparkle with longing and nostalgia. She realized that even in her absence, her mother's influence reached far and wide. The people of Xiphora still remembered her mother, still revered her, and still hoped for the day when Lyra would return. The next obstacle came in the form of a treacherous storm. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and lightning split the sky in jagged streaks. The vanguard shook violently as the storm battered the ship. Adrian's hands flew over the controls, guiding them through turbulent winds and flashes of lightning. Lyra clung to her blanket, her face pale with fear. Adrian spoke softly to her, telling stories of humans who had faced storms on distant planets and lived to see the sun again. His calm words and steady presence helped Lyra focus on hope instead of fear. Together, they navigated through the storm, emerging on the other side as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. During the calmer hours that followed, Adrian and Lyra formed a stronger bond. She began to see him not just as a soldier or protector, but as a friend who understood her, who listened to her fears and celebrated her small victories. Adrian, in turn, admired Lyra's courage. She had endured so much at a young age, yet she still carried hope in her heart. Her resilience reminded him why humans fought, not for power or conquest, but to protect life and to ensure that hope survived in every corner of the galaxy. As they neared the capital city, Adrian began to prepare for the most delicate part of their mission, the reunion with Queen Scifi. He knew the queen would be cautious. After years of grief and worry, she might not immediately recognize her daughter. There were likely political obstacles as well. Court advisors and guards could see the human soldier as a threat. Adrian's mind raced with strategies, but he also knew that no strategy could replace honesty and courage. He would need to speak with truth, with bravery, and let the queen see the bond between mother and daughter for herself. Lyra, sensing Adrian's seriousness, grew quiet. She held the medallion tightly, her fingers tracing the engraved symbol. "Do you think she will recognize me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrian took a deep breath, remembering the moment he first found her in the alley. "Yes," he said firmly. "She will know you. Nothing can erase that bond. You are her daughter, and she will feel it." Lyra nodded slowly, trusting him completely, though her heart raced with anticipation and fear. The city grew closer, its towers and spires glinting in the early morning light. From this distance, it seemed calm, peaceful, and orderly. But Adrian knew better. The Queen's court was full of advisors, generals, and guards, all watching for signs of danger or deception. He carefully piloted the ship to a hidden landing zone, away from the main gates, where they could approach without drawing unnecessary attention. Lyra's small hand rested on his arm, her touch a reminder of the life they were fighting to protect. When the ship finally landed, Adrian helped Lyra out gently. The air was warm and fragrant, filled with the scent of flowers from nearby gardens. Birds sang in the trees, and the soft hum of the city in the distance created a strange sense of normalcy, almost as if the world had forgotten the dangers they had faced. Lyra took a deep breath, inhaling the familiar sense of home. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of belonging, a connection to the world she had lost, but was about to reclaim. Adrian knelt beside her, speaking softly. "Stay close to me," he said. "We're almost there. Your mother is waiting, and soon you will be in her arms." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not from fear, but from the overwhelming hope that had finally reached her heart. She had survived, she had endured, and now, after all these years, she would return to the person who loved her most. Adrian smiled, feeling a warmth he had not known in years. This was why he fought. This was why humans dared to cross galaxies and face impossible dangers. To protect life, to restore hope, and to reunite those who had been torn apart. As they moved quietly toward the palace gardens, the shadows lengthened, and the city's beauty shone in the fading light. Adrian's mind was alert, watching for any signs of trouble, but his heart was full. He had carried Lyra through danger, through storms and enemies, and now he would carry her safely to the moment that mattered most. The human soldier, small in the vastness of the galaxy, was about to perform an act that would echo across worlds. The restoration of a family, the proof that courage, kindness, and determination could overcome even the greatest obstacles. And in that quiet moment, as the palace gates loomed ahead, Lyra took Adrian's hand, her grip firm and trusting. Together, they stepped forward, ready to face whatever awaited them, carrying hope in their hearts and the promise of a brighter future in their hands. The palace of Queen Scifi was larger than Adrian had imagined. Towers of shimmering crystal reflected the sunlight, casting rainbow patterns across the gardens below. Bridges connected the tall spires, and fountains bubbled softly, their water glistening like diamonds. The entire city felt alive yet calm, a place of beauty and order. Adrian guided Lyra carefully through the hidden corridors and smaller gates that led to the palace gardens. He kept his eyes alert, knowing that many people in the court were watching from a distance, curious and suspicious of the human soldier who carried the queen's lost daughter. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. Each step toward her mother felt heavier and lighter at the same time. She had dreamt of this moment for years, imagining her mother's warm embrace, the sound of her voice, and the way her presence had always made the world feel safe. But now, approaching the moment, a flicker of doubt crept in. What if her mother did not recognize her? What if she had forgotten the details of her face, her voice, her touch? Adrian noticed the hesitation in her steps and gently squeezed her hand. "You are her daughter," he said softly. "She will know. Trust yourself and trust her." Lyra nodded, taking a deep breath, steadying herself as they moved closer. The palace guards were stern and alert, their eyes scanning every movement. Adrian spoke to them respectfully, explaining that Lyra was returning to her mother and that no harm would come to the palace or its inhabitants. After a tense moment, the guards stepped aside, allowing them access to the central garden. It was a private area filled with fragrant flowers, towering trees, and soft, rolling grass. The sun bathed the garden in golden light, and the gentle sound of birds created a serene atmosphere, a stark contrast to the dangers they had faced just hours before. At the center of the garden, Queen Scifi stood beneath a large cherry blossom tree. Her silver hair fell gracefully around her shoulders, and her eyes, though tired from years of worry and rule, shone with wisdom and dignity. She held a small staff, adorned with intricate symbols of her family and lineage. When she noticed Adrian and Lyra approaching, she froze, a mixture of surprise and cautious hope crossing her face. Her advisors and attendants murmured among themselves, unsure of what to make of this moment. Adrian stepped forward respectfully, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. "Your Majesty," he began, bowing slightly, "I am Captain Adrian Voss, a human soldier. I have come to return your daughter, Lyra, safely to you." Scifi's eyes widened, and for a moment she could not speak. She studied the girl standing behind Adrian, taking in the silver hair, the familiar medallion, and the way Lyra clutched her blanket as if it were a shield. Something stirred deep within her, a recognition, a memory, a mother's instinct. Lyra's voice trembled as she spoke, stepping forward slightly. "Mother, it's me. I'm here. I'm safe." The words hung in the air, fragile yet powerful. Scifi's hand went to her chest, and tears welled in her eyes. She took a hesitant step forward, then another, as if drawn by an invisible force. Her voice was soft, almost breaking. "Lyra." "My daughter?" Lyra nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. The medallion around her neck glowed faintly, reflecting the sunlight, a symbol of their bond and lineage. Adrian watched silently, feeling a surge of relief and pride. He had guided her through danger, through storms and enemies, and now he was witnessing the moment that made all the risks worthwhile. The queen knelt slowly, her hands reaching out toward Lyra. The girl ran into her mother's arms, sobbing freely as Scifi held her tightly. The garden seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of love, relief, and reunion. The advisors and attendants looked on in respectful silence, understanding that some moments were too sacred to interrupt. Scifi's voice trembled as she whispered words of love and reassurance. "I thought I had lost you forever. I prayed every day that you were safe, and now you are here." Lyra clung to her mother, feeling the warmth and safety she had longed for over so many years. She whispered back, "I never stopped hoping, Mother, and he saved me. He brought me back to you." Her gaze shifted toward Adrian, gratitude shining in her eyes. Adrian inclined his head respectfully, acknowledging her words. He said nothing more, knowing that this moment was theirs, not his. After a while, Scifi gently pulled back, holding Lyra at arm's length to look at her face. She studied every detail, the shape of her eyes, the curve of her smile, the small scar on her hand from the night she was taken. Recognition deepened in her expression, and a smile broke through the tears. "You are truly my daughter," she said firmly, as if stating it aloud would make it undeniable to the world. Lyra smiled, feeling the weight of years of separation lift from her shoulders. She felt whole again. The queen turned her gaze to Adrian, her expression a mixture of gratitude and respect. You have done what no one else could," she said softly. "You brought my daughter back to me. You have shown courage, wisdom, and compassion that goes beyond what I expected from your kind." Adrian bowed his head. "It was my duty, Your Majesty," he said. "But more than duty, it was an honor. Humanity believes in protecting life, in restoring hope, and in doing what is right. Lyra's safety was my responsibility, and I am grateful to see her return to you." Scifi nodded, tears still glistening in her eyes, recognizing the truth in his words. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the garden became even more beautiful. Soft shadows stretched across the grass, and petals from the cherry blossom tree floated gently through the air. Lyra and Scifi remained close, sharing words, tears, and laughter as if they were trying to make up for lost time. Adrian stayed nearby, silent but watchful, knowing that his presence was still needed. He observed the bond forming between mother and daughter, understanding that some things could not be rushed, that healing took time, and that trust once broken had to be rebuilt patiently. The palace advisors eventually approached, bringing news of ongoing threats and the importance of securing the city. Scifi acknowledged them, but waved them back. "Not now," she said firmly. "This moment is private. My daughter has returned to me, and nothing else matters at this time." Lyra's eyes sparkled as she realized that she was finally in control of her own story, able to speak, to laugh, and to feel safe once more. She felt the love of her mother surrounding her, stronger than any danger or fear she had faced. Adrian took a quiet moment to reflect. Humans often fought wars for survival, for resources, or for honor. But this was different. This was about protecting life, about restoring hope, about bridging the distance between worlds through courage and compassion. In that moment, he felt a deep connection not only to Lyra and Scifi, but to the ideals that humans carried into the galaxy. They could be more than conquerors. They could be protectors, friends, and heroes. As the evening settled in, the palace gardens glowed with lanterns that reflected off the fountains and paths. Lyra and her mother walked slowly through the soft grass, hands intertwined, talking quietly about the years they had lost. Adrian followed a few steps behind, keeping watch while also savoring the quiet beauty of the moment. The air was filled with the scent of flowers and the soft sound of water from the fountains. For once, the galaxy felt peaceful, as if acknowledging the reunion it had silently watched for so long. Later, in a private room, Serafa spoke with Adrian alone. "You have done more than I can ever repay," she said. "You have restored my family and reminded me of the courage humans are capable of. I will never forget this." Adrian shook his head gently. "No repayment is needed, Your Majesty. Seeing her safe and happy is enough. Humanity thrives when we protect and help, and today, that purpose has been fulfilled." Serafa nodded, understanding the truth in his words. That night, as Lyra finally slept in her mother's arms, Adrian looked out of the palace window at the stars above. The galaxy stretched endlessly, full of challenges and dangers, but also full of hope and possibilities. He thought about the journey ahead, the continued struggles, the efforts to bring peace, the promise of building trust between humans and other civilizations. Yet for now, he allowed himself a quiet moment of satisfaction. He had succeeded in his mission. He had saved Lyra, reunited a family, and shown what humanity could achieve through courage, compassion, and determination. In the soft glow of the palace, Adrian understood that this was the true meaning of heroism. It was not just about strength or skill, but about protecting life, restoring hope, and creating connections that could last across worlds. Lyra had returned to her mother, safe and whole, and the Queen had seen firsthand the bravery and goodness of humans. It was a moment that would resonate far beyond the walls of the palace, a story of courage and love that would be remembered for generations to come. And so, as the night embraced the city and the stars sparkled above, a human soldier stood quietly by the window, knowing that he had done more than any weapon or army could do. He had brought hope, restored a family, and reminded the galaxy of what humans were truly capable of. The tears, the joy, and the bonds formed this evening would shine as a testament to the power of courage, compassion, and unwavering determination, lighting the way for a future filled with possibilities. The next morning, the palace was alive with quiet energy. Birds chirped in the gardens, and the soft light of dawn illuminated the sparkling towers. Queen Serafa and Lyra had spent hours together, sharing stories, laughing softly, and even shedding tears over the years they had lost. Yet, there was still much to be done. The Queen needed to address her court, explain Lyra's return, and ensure that the people of Zephora understood the significance of this reunion. Adrian, though relieved to see the mother and daughter reunited, knew his part of the mission was not fully complete. He had to help navigate the delicate politics of the court, ensure no threats remained, and protect Lyra until she was truly safe. Lyra, now more confident and composed, walked beside Adrian as they made their way to the main hall. She felt a new sense of strength, knowing that she had survived unimaginable challenges and had finally returned to her mother. The medallion she wore glowed faintly in the morning light, a symbol of her identity and the love that had guided her through the darkness. Her gaze met Adrian's, and she whispered, "Thank you for everything." Adrian gave her a gentle nod. "You did all the hard part, Lyra. I just helped you get here." She smiled, realizing that courage came in many forms, and sometimes trust and faith were just as important as bravery. The main hall of the palace was vast and imposing. High ceilings arched gracefully overhead, and intricate murals depicted the history of Zephora, its rulers, and the alliances that had shaped its place in the galaxy. Courtiers and advisors lined the room, their expressions a mix of curiosity, relief, and cautious skepticism. They had been awaiting news of Lyra's return, and whispers spread quickly as they saw her and Adrian enter. Queen Serafa stood at the center, her presence commanding respect. She extended a hand toward Lyra, inviting her to step forward. Lyra moved confidently, holding her mother's hand tightly. The queen addressed her court, her voice steady yet full of emotion. "Today, my daughter has returned to me, safe and whole. She has endured trials that would have broken many, yet she has survived. This reunion is a testament to hope, courage, and the strength of the bonds that connect us." The hall fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Lyra glanced at Adrian, knowing that it was his courage and determination that had made this moment possible. She could not speak of his bravery without feeling the depth of gratitude that overwhelmed her heart. One of the advisors, a stern-looking Xiferan named Terrell, stepped forward cautiously. "Your Majesty," he said, "while this is a moment of joy, we must consider the risks. A human soldier brought her here. Can we trust him? Can we trust that this was not a trick?" Queen Serapha looked at Terrell calmly, her eyes unwavering. "Captain Adrian Voss has proven his honor and loyalty," she said firmly. "He risked his life to protect my daughter and restore hope. That is proof enough of his intentions. Trust, like courage, is earned through action, not words alone." The court murmured in agreement, the initial skepticism giving way to admiration and respect. Adrian stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "Your Majesty, I seek nothing for myself. I acted out of duty, compassion, and belief in the strength of life itself. Humanity thrives when we protect, when we restore hope, and when we help those in need. Lyra's return to you is reward enough." His words resonated throughout the hall. The courtiers and advisors exchanged glances, realizing that here was a human whose courage and integrity were unmatched. Lyra felt a swell of pride. This man, this soldier, had become more than a protector. He was a symbol of what humans could achieve when guided by honor and kindness. The queen then took a moment to speak directly to Lyra. "My daughter," she said, her voice soft but firm, "you have returned stronger than I could have imagined. The years apart were long and painful, yet you endured. I am proud of you, more than words can express. Together, we will rebuild what was lost and continue the legacy of our family and our people." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, and she leaned into her mother, feeling the warmth and safety she had craved for so long. She realized that the true strength of a family was not just in presence, but in resilience, trust, and unwavering love. After the formalities, Adrian accompanied Lyra and her mother back to the gardens. The soft light of afternoon bathed the flowers in brilliant colors, and the gentle breeze carried the fragrance of blossoms. Lyra ran ahead, laughing softly as petals brushed her hair. Serapha followed, smiling, her eyes full of love and relief. Adrian watched them, feeling a quiet satisfaction. He had done his duty, yes, but he had also witnessed something greater, the restoration of hope, the triumph of courage, and the power of compassion across species. The afternoon was spent in quiet conversation, with Lyra sharing her experiences and Adrian listening patiently. She spoke of her fears, the loneliness she had felt, and the small moments of hope that had kept her alive. Adrian shared stories of human courage and perseverance, not in boasting, but to show that hope and bravery were not limited to any one species. The bond between human and alien grew stronger in these quiet moments, a bridge between worlds built on trust, respect, and shared experience. As evening approached, the palace prepared a small celebration to honor Lyra's return. Lanterns were hung along the garden paths, their soft light reflecting in the fountains and creating a magical atmosphere. The citizens of Zephora, invited for the occasion, gathered respectfully, their faces full of admiration for the young girl who had returned and the human soldier who had made it possible. Children ran alongside the paths, curious and inspired, seeing in Lyra a living example of resilience and hope. Adrian remained slightly apart, observing with humility. He had no desire for recognition. His satisfaction came from seeing hope restored and families reunited. During the celebration, Scifi took a moment to address everyone present. Let this day remind us all of the strength of life, the power of courage, and the importance of trust. My daughter has returned, and it is a human soldier who brought her safely home. Let this act of bravery serve as a reminder that across galaxies, across species, there are those who act not for power or gain, but for the protection of life and the restoration of hope. The crowd erupted in applause, not just for Lyra's return, but for the courage and honor represented by Adrian's actions. Later that night, when the palace had quieted and most of the visitors had departed, Adrian stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across black velvet, and the soft glow of the city lights reflected in the fountains and towers below. He thought of humanity, of the qualities that defined them beyond strength and strategy, courage, compassion, and the willingness to protect life even when the odds seemed impossible. He realized that these qualities, small as they might seem in the vastness of space, could have an impact far greater than any weapon or army. Lyra approached him quietly, her small hand resting on his arm. "I will never forget what you did for me," she said softly. Adrian smiled. "You don't have to," he said. "You survived. You came home. That is all the reward I need." Lyra looked out at the city, the palace, and the distant horizon. "Humans, they really can be amazing," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder and gratitude. Adrian nodded, understanding the truth in her words. Humanity was capable of both great danger and great good. And it was moments like this that defined who they truly were. The next morning, Adrian prepared to leave the palace. Queen Scifi insisted that he stay longer, offering him comfort, food, and warm words of gratitude. Yet he declined politely, knowing that his journey was not over, that humanity had other places to protect, other lives to safeguard. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing respectfully, "I have done what I could here. My hope is that the bond between your people and humans will grow stronger from this day forward." Scifi nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "You have given us more than we could have hoped," she said. "May the courage and kindness you showed guide humanity and Xiphora alike." As Adrian departed in the early morning light, the palace fading behind him, he felt a quiet satisfaction. Lyra waved from the balcony, her mother beside her both smiling and safe. The medallion around her neck caught the first rays of sunlight, a symbol of their family and the hope that had guided them through danger. Adrian piloted the vanguard smoothly, reflecting on the journey, the battles, and the courage that had carried them through. He knew there would be more challenges, more conflicts across the galaxy, but he also knew that moments like this, acts of protection, courage, and compassion, were what truly defined humanity. As the ship rose into the starry expanse, Adrian looked forward to the future, knowing that he had left a mark that went beyond battlefields and wars. He had reunited a family, restored hope, and demonstrated the power of humanity's best qualities to the universe. Lyra's laughter, her mother's tears, and the peace that had returned to Xiphora were reminders that even in a galaxy full of challenges, hope could shine brightly. And so, as the stars stretched endlessly ahead, Adrian Voss flew onward, carrying the quiet pride of humanity, the memory of courage in the face of fear, and the knowledge that even a single act of bravery could ripple across worlds, shaping futures and inspiring generations to come. Lyra and her mother would remain together, their bond unbroken, a living testament to the strength of love, hope, and the extraordinary courage of a human soldier who dared to protect life even when the odds were against him. The galaxy, vast and full of mystery, had witnessed one story of triumph, and through it, Humans had shown that they were capable of greatness, not through conquest, but through kindness, bravery, and the unwavering determination to do what was right. Adrian's journey would continue, but the memory of this reunion and the joy he had helped restore would remain in his heart forever.